As most of you probably know, the Earth and everybody on the Earth is going through an ascension process. Ascension is literally ascending or rising in vibration or frequency. As I understand it, Earth has already moved from third density, or what some people call the third dimension, into the fourth, and we are on our way to fifth density, which is a vibration of unconditional love and oneness consciousness. So essentially, we're going home without leaving the physical body. That's one of the reasons an ascension lifetime is so miraculous and magnificent. Ascension is caused by light from source flooding the planet. The light has the effect of bringing to the surface, bringing to conscious awareness, everything unlike itself, which is to say everything of a lower vibration. This is happening collectively to the entire human race and individually in each person's life, whether they are consciously aware of it or not. So every bit of trauma, pain, hurt, wounding, anger, lack of forgiveness, resentments, false beliefs, anything of a lower vibration, much of which is at the subconscious level, is going to come into conscious awareness so that you can release it. That process is called purification. Your conscious awareness is necessary for these lower vibrational energies to release. They are what you could call trapped or crystallized or frozen. And when they come into your conscious awareness, if you don't go into aversion and try to push them away, which makes it sticky, if you can remain neutral and just witness whatever is arising, your conscious awareness unfreezes it so that it can now release. So the steps in clearing these old traumas are: one, let it come into conscious awareness, be consciously aware of it. Two, to the extent that you can do so sincerely, thank whatever it is that's coming into your conscious awareness for whatever it has taught you. Three, bless it. Four, set an intention to give it to the universe for transmutation. It really is that simple. Those are the 4 steps of purification. So with that in mind, what's happening in the Middle East, in the Ukraine and elsewhere, is a manifestation of the purification process. Think of what's happening in Israel and Palestine. You can look at it this way. The ascension is like a strong, powerful river flowing in one direction. It's flowing in the direction of unity consciousness. That is the overriding intention of the human species. So imagine you've got this powerful river moving strongly in this one direction. And imagine that there's a huge boulder in the middle of the river. So as the water contacts the boulder, there's a lot of energetic turbulence. The boulder in this case represents the fairly large number of beings in the Middle East who are heavily invested in separation consciousness for various reasons of their own. Those beings are not intending to move toward oneness consciousness. They do not want the rest of us to move toward oneness consciousness. They are effectively an energetic boulder in the middle of this raging river. So whenever you have a large population of beings moving in one direction, and you have a subset of that population intending to stay in place, or perhaps even move in the opposite direction, it's the boulder and the river clashing together. That creates a lot of energetic turbulence. And that turbulence is very fertile ground for war. It often manifests as war, but it doesn't have to be war. It could manifest as something like famine or a natural disaster, like a tornado, a tsunami, an earthquake. Those are all various possibilities. But these are the energetic conditions that give rise to something like what you see going on in the Middle East right now. I realize when I talk about there being beings in the Middle East who are invested in separation consciousness, that could be misconstrued as a judgment or a statement of blame. That is not at all what I'm saying. That is not my intention or what's in my heart. All I'm trying to do is explain the underlying energetics of what's happening in the Middle East. Now, here's the really important part that I want you to keep in your consciousness, the take-home lesson, so to speak. Think about what happens when light strikes an object. It casts a shadow. The brighter the light, the darker the shadow, until at a certain point, there's so much light that just dissolves the shadow. I believe that humanity is now at the point of maximal darkness of the shadow. And certainly it looks that way if you watch the news. But that means that we are just one short step away from dissolution of the shadow. And that's the thing to keep in mind here. If you don't know that and you just watch the news, you could reasonably conclude that humanity is headed towards self-annihilation. That is actually the opposite of what's occurring here. We're not headed towards self-annihilation, we're headed towards self-realization. And when I say self-realization, I mean self-realization with a capital S. Realization of the true self, the one self, the real self, whatever term you would like to use. That's where the human species is headed. When I say we're at the point of maximal darkness, by point, I don't mean this second, this minute, this hour, or this day, or even this year. By point, I mean most likely it's probably going to be a period of several years where this kind of purification is going to be quite intense. I use the word point because from an evolutionary perspective, from Source's perspective, where planning is taking place over billions of years, that's the frame of reference that's being used. A few years of linear time on Earth is just a point, relatively speaking. But I think from our perception of linear time, it's going to be quite intense for at least several years. Again, the important point, if we're at the point of maximal darkness of the shadow, and I believe that we are, then we are one step away from dissolution of the shadow. So this is intended to be a message of hope, and I hope you will share it with others in your life who are distressed by what's going on in the news these days.